The room was full of laughter. Not the warm kind, not the nervous kind. The kind that comes when someone powerful decides to turn another human being into entertainment. Bring her up here. A teenage girl stepped forward slowly. She couldn't have been more than 16. No badge, no suit, no confidence on display. Just a backpack hanging from one shoulder and eyes that never quite left the floor. The billionaire tilted his head, studying her like a curiosity. Then he gestured toward the massive black vault behind him, towering, seamless, untouchable. "You see that?" he said. "My engineers spent years on it." He paused, let the silence stretch. Then he laughed. "I'll make you a deal," he said casually. "Crack my vault, and I'll give you $50 million. The crowd erupted. Phones came out. Someone whistled. Someone clapped. The billionaire leaned closer, lowering his voice just enough to sting. "But don't worry," he added. "No one expects you to." The girl finally looked up. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She just looked at the vault. And for a brief moment, something shifted in the room. Cut to silence. No one in the room knew her name. Not the billionaire. Not the engineers. Not the journalists already framing the moment in their heads. She wasn't on the guest list. She was only there because her mother worked nights, cleaning offices, emptying trash, wiping fingerprints off glass walls just like these. Childcare was expensive, so sometimes the girl came along, sat quietly in corners, stayed invisible. Until now, the event itself was meant to celebrate innovation, a private tech summit, invitation only, the kind of place where confidence was currency and silence was weakness. Behind the billionaire stood the vault, 8 feet tall, matte black, no seams, no handles, no keypad in sight unless you knew where to look. It housed proprietary technology rumored to be worth more than some small countries, a symbol of power, of control. The billionaire, Caleb Royce, had built his reputation on moments like this. Public demonstrations, bold claims, crushing doubt with money and confidence. What no one in the audience knew was that the vault hadn't opened in weeks. What no one knew was that a delayed audit loomed, that investors were restless, that this performance was meant to reassure. The girl stood still, eyes tracing the vault's surface, not the glowing panel, not the cameras, but the metal itself. She was listening, and while the room laughed, while Royce basked in applause, she noticed something no one else had. The vault wasn't silent. It was breathing. Caleb Royce raised his hand, and the laughter softened into a murmur. "All right," he said, savoring the moment. "Let's make this official." A stage assistant hesitated, then stepped forward with a handheld mic. Royce waved it away. "No need," he said. "She won't be saying much." More laughter. He turned back to the girl. "Rules are simple. No tools. No help. No second chances." A pause. 5 minutes. The number landed heavy. Engineers exchanged looks. A few shook their heads. Someone near the front whispered, "This is cruel." Someone else replied, "She can walk away." Security glanced toward the exits. Cameras zoomed in, hungry for tears, for panic, for retreat. But the girl didn't move. She adjusted the strap of her backpack. That was all. Royce lifted his wrist, tapping his watch theatrically. "Time starts when you touch the vault." Still, she didn't. Instead, she stepped aside. One step, then another. She walked the length of the vault slowly, eyes unfocused, as if she weren't really looking at it all. A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. "Is she lost?" someone muttered. "Is this a joke?" Royce's smile tightened. "Clock's ticking," he said, voice sharper now. 3 minutes left. The girl stopped. She leaned in close, not to the glowing panel, not to the hidden seam, but to the metal itself, and she pressed her ear against it. The room went quiet. At first, people thought she was stalling, a nervous trick, a child buying time before the inevitable failure. She kept her ear pressed to the cold surface, eyes half closed, breathing steady. One hand rested lightly against the vault, fingertips barely touching, as if she were listening for something beneath the metal. A laugh broke out somewhere in the back. Then another. Is she listening to it? Someone scoffed. Royce shifted his weight. His smile was still there, but thinner now. You have 2 minutes, he reminded her, louder than necessary. She didn't respond. Instead, she tapped the vault once. Soft, controlled. She waited, then tapped again. Slightly harder. The sound echoed, dull, uneven. Her brow furrowed. Across the room, one of the senior engineers leaned forward in his seat. He hadn't meant to. He just reacted. His eyes narrowed, tracking her movements with sudden interest. That's odd, he muttered, mostly to himself. The girl stepped back, tilted her head. Then she asked a question. Not loudly, not confidently, just clearly enough to cut through the room. Why does it sound different on this side? Silence dropped like a curtain. Royce laughed too quickly. Because it's a vault, he said. That's how metal works. But the engineer didn't laugh. He stood up, and for the first time since the challenge began, the countdown clock was no longer the loudest thing in the room. The engineer stepped forward slowly, eyes never leaving the vault. Who changed the power routing, he asked. The question didn't seem directed at anyone in particular, but it landed hard. Royce frowned. What are you talking about? The engineer ignored him. He crouched near the base of the vault, pressing his palm flat against the metal, mimicking the girl's earlier posture. He tapped once. Then again. His face changed. That shouldn't sound like that, he said quietly. Murmurs rippled through the room. Another engineer joined him. Then another. They whispered in sharp, technical bursts. Terms most of the audience didn't understand, but the tone was unmistakable. Concern. One of them straightened and looked at the girl. How did you know to listen? She shrugged. Machines tell you things, she said. If you let them. Roy scoffed. This is ridiculous. But his voice didn't carry the same weight anymore. The lead security architect pushed through the crowd. He studied the panel, then the seams, then the girl. You rerouted the system, he said slowly. Eyes turned to Royce. The digital interface is cosmetic. The real lock is mechanical, vibration sensitive. The room went still. That hum, the architect continued, means the failsafe is active. It's been compensating for a mismatch. He turned back to the girl. You weren't guessing. The clock on the screen blinked red. 30 seconds. No one was laughing now. Cameras stopped panning and locked in place. Even the whispers died, as if the room itself had decided to hold its breath. Caleb Royce glanced at the timer, then at the vault, then finally at the girl. This has gone far enough, he said, forcing a chuckle that didn't quite land. We've all had our fun. The security architect didn't move. Neither did the engineers. The girl stepped forward. For the first time, she placed both hands on the vault. Not the panel. Not the seam. Lower, where the metal met the floor. She closed her eyes. 20 seconds. She tapped once. Listened. Tapped again. Adjusted the angle of her wrist. Her movements were calm. Practiced. Almost gentle. A soft mechanical shift echoed from inside the vault. Someone gasped. 10 seconds. Royce took a step back without realizing it. The girl twisted her hand, just slightly. There was a sound then. Not loud. Not dramatic. A clean, unmistakable click. The vault door released. Silence hit first. Then chaos. The door swung open. And in that moment, the impossible wasn't just solved. It was witnessed. No one cheered right away. The applause came late. Hesitant at first, because everyone was still trying to understand what they'd just seen. Caleb Royce stood frozen near the stage, one hand gripping the edge of the podium as if it were the only solid thing left in the room. The vault behind him stood open, its mystery gone, its authority stripped bare. Cameras turned, not toward the vault, toward him. Questions followed within hours. About the rerouted system. About why the failsafe had been altered. About how long he'd known the vault wasn't working the way he claimed. Royce didn't answer many of them. By the end of the week, an internal review was announced. Quietly, without a press conference. The girl didn't stay for it. She slipped out while the room buzzed with speculation. Her backpack, still slung over one shoulder. No entourage, no interviews, just a nod from the engineer who'd stood up first. In the months that followed, offers arrived. Scholarships, mentorships, invitations to rooms she'd never been allowed to enter before. She accepted one, not the biggest, not the loudest, just the one that let her learn. Because she hadn't cracked the vault for money, or applause, or revenge. She cracked it because she listened. And sometimes that's all it takes to unlock something everyone else insists is impossible.